Thank you for being here this evening and caring about the safety of adults and children in your community. We are here to discuss the best ways to prevent sexual harm and to focus on what we can do more than what we are afraid of. As you know, the purpose of tonight's meeting is to provide you with the best tools and information to keep adults and children safe. We'll share information about the laws that help protect us and what each of us can do to stay safe. We'll also talk about a specific sexual offender recently released and now living in your neighborhood. But please remember, this one person is not the only one you need to focus on. Convicted and released sex offenders represent less than 10% of those who cause sexual harm. Because of that, tonight we'll learn how to spread our vigilance around to raise awareness of the dangerous situations and behaviors that could put anyone at risk for sexual harm. Now, it's understandable if you feel afraid, anxious, and upset when you hear a convicted sex offender may be moving into your neighborhood. We know that sexual abuse exists in our communities, and it makes most of us feel angry, as it should. Know that this particular convicted offender is not the only one living in our communities to be concerned about. We must remember that offenders have always been released into our communities, but only recently have we been given the right to know. So let's preserve that by obeying the law. Community notification meetings are designed to answer your questions, provide information on sex offender laws, and how these laws apply to this individual. We will also provide important information concerning safety tips and tools you can use in your community. We hope that the information you learn here tonight will help you walk away with a little less fear and a greater sense of empowerment about how to keep yourself and your families safe. When Jacob Wetterling was abducted, his parents learned that his was the rarest type of abduction and that the majority of non-family abductions occur for sexual reasons. When the family asked law enforcement what tool could be most helpful in finding missing children, it is no surprise that law enforcement suggested a sex offender registry. With this registry of convicted sex offenders, they could have a good first step for solving sex crime cases. The registry could allow police to zero in on likely suspects quickly and to clear that suspect from the case if appropriate. Now, based on that recommendation in 1994, the Jacob Wetterling Crimes Against Children and Sexually Violent Offender Registration Act, also known as Jacob's Law, was passed to implement a sex offender registry. In 1996, an amendment to that act called Megan's Law requires states to establish a community notification system like the one here tonight when certain offenders move into the community. Since then, other amendments and changes to these laws have been passed that build upon existing legislation. Many victim families have advocated for these new laws which provide more tools to help communities stay safe. Remember, these laws certainly are helpful, but they are only a tool because they only apply to convicted, released sex offenders who have been assigned a risk level, which represents less than 10% of those who cause sexual harm. We know the strength of these laws focus around the community, taking an active role as the eyes and ears of the neighborhood. The best way to stay safe is to be aware and engaged in the lives of people around you and act as a helping hand to kids. There's a big difference between being aware and responding in a harassing way. In order to ensure our right to know where sex offenders live, it's important that we do not engage in any illegal or destructive behaviors. Contrary to popular public opinion, research shows that the vast majority of convicted, treated, and released sex offenders do not reoffend. When offenders re-enter society without sexually reoffending, their success is our success. We do know that one person abused or assaulted is one too many, and we would like to share what the research says so that you can appropriately weigh the risks. We also know that 93% of those who cause sexual harm to children and youth are known to victims and are often family members or acquaintances. Bureau of Justice statistics followed more than 9,000 sex offenders for 3 years after their release and found that 5.3% of them were rearrested for another sex crime. These statistics are important because we have found that the immense media coverage of highly sensational or heinous sex crimes has distorted the public's belief in who's causing the problem, how they're committing these crimes, and what each of us can do to fix it. Now, let's look at the best ways to stay safe. Take time after this meeting to have a family safety night with your children to review the safety rules in your home, especially those related to personal safety and online safety. Revisit the topic of personal safety regularly, using connecting conversations that are positive, supportive, and empowering based on age. Play what-if games with your children to help them build critical life skills over time in age-appropriate ways. Remind ourselves and kids, if any person makes them feel afraid, uncomfortable, or confused, they need to talk to a trusted adult right away. Use the printed materials available today to guide your conversations. Or print off the Family Safety Night outline and what-if games available from the Jacob Wetterling Resource Center at www.jwrc.org. Remember, in the vast majority of sexual abuse cases or abduction, the child knows the perpetrator directly or indirectly. It is about relationships, not residency. That is why the best ways to stay safe are to focus your efforts and vigilance to cover all types of situations and people. We want you to be vigilant regarding this sex offender, but do not direct all of your energy on this one person. We are here to focus on what we can do more than on what we are afraid of. Let's partner with law enforcement, our neighbors, block clubs, civic organizations, schools, faith-based communities, corporations, and others in order to do what we can do to ensure safe places for everyone, every day.